Greetings, my little lovelies. I hope I find you all well again, and as usual feeling tickety-boo. Now, before we go on, it's the school holidays, so apologies in advance if you hear any banging, crashing or screaming. It'll be Dylan. Now you've been warned. Now, we've got 4 videos for you today. Yes, 4. We're spoiling you again. How marvellous is that, my little lovelies? The first one is all about astral travel. Quite interesting. The second one is about a pianist who photographed a ghost at a concert. The third one, I'm having to look over there because I can't remember more than 3 things. You know, I'm getting old. Mind is going and I can't remember anything. Right. The third one is all about the Turin Shroud. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Turin Shroud. And the fourth one, I'm going to check again now. Look. Let me check. Yes. The fourth one, there is a fourth one. The fourth one, oh, I've got to stop doing this. The fourth one is all about reincarnation. Now, I think I've waffled on and confused everybody for far too long. So, let's crack on, shall we?
Brian says, "It has taken me a while to build up to do this. You see, I consider myself to be a rational man. Even at the tender age of 9 when this journey began, and your mind should be open to things like Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, or who or what create bumps in the night. My mind was pretty much closed. I had a wild imagination, yes, but I knew the difference between what was real and what was obviously fantasy. Then I met John. John was about my age, and he explained astral projection to me. He told me how to do it, but I'll admit I thought he was a bit crazy. A few nights later, I was in bed and feeling pretty tired. The conversation I'd had with John was still fresh in my mind, and there's this moment between being awake and asleep, the golden hour, if you will, for leaving your body. My mind in that moment focused on the technique that John had told me about, and it started. I had a tingling sensation in my hands at first, then it spread like wildfire through my body, and I could feel myself rising. Now at this moment I honestly didn't know what to think. Could this be a dream? It certainly didn't feel like one. No, I knew the difference, he said. Even back then, it was happening. I was leaving my body. My heart was pounding. I still remember the feeling to this day as I continued to rise. I kept my eyes shut, but I could feel it. Then, pure terror, I screamed and flipped around in mid-air. I started flaying my arms like I was drowning. I floated there in mid-air, looking down upon myself. I reached out and grabbed something, like a rope. I didn't really understand what it was, but after a few seconds, I pulled on the rope and I was back into my body. I came back into my body with such force that I thought my stomach was going to explode. I opened my eyes and safely back inside my body. I looked around and thought, wow, that was crazy. Could it have possibly been a dream, he says. Well, now I'm 48 years old. And since then I've explored the astral plane many times, and I've been to places and seen things that are far beyond my comprehension. Honestly, I don't think I've even scratched the surface of it yet. So what do you think, folks? Any of you experienced astral travel? Let us know. Chad Lawson had been doing a sound check at the Paramount Theatre in Austin when this picture was taken. The American pianist had been getting ready for a performance at the iconic theatre and had taken photographs of his piano in the empty concert hall so that he could upload them to social media. It wasn't until he looked at the photos in the hotel afterwards, however, that he noticed that something was amiss. A strange figure had appeared up on the balcony in one of the shots. I took 3 pictures from the stage to share, he said. In the photo you can clearly see someone standing there. Noticing it, I looked at the first and third pictures, and the person standing there was absent. After doing a bit of research into the building, he discovered that there had been stories for many years of a ghostly woman in a white dress who is said to appear in the exact same spot. As always, folks, let us know your thoughts.
A new analysis has cast doubt on the findings of a controversial study into the authenticity of the Turin shroud. During the original study back in 1988, radiocarbon dating was used to determine that the Shroud of Turin, which is believed by many to be the actual burial cloth of Jesus Christ himself, dated to between 1260 and 1390, suggesting that it was in fact a medieval forgery. Now though, by obtaining the original data from a Freedom of Information Act request, a new team of researchers has determined that the results may in fact be unreliable. For almost 30 years, scholars have asked in vain for the raw data to be released, said study leader Tristan Casabianca. I graduated in law, so I had the idea to make a legal request based on the Freedom of Information Act. The British Museum was the only institution to fully and quickly answer my request. It turned out that the original tests had been conducted only on the edges of the cloth, and that the results may have been affected by a fire at the Sainte-Chapelle in 1532. The tested samples are obviously heterogeneous from many different dates, said Casabianca. There is no guarantee that all these samples taken from one end of the shroud are representative of the whole fabric. It is therefore impossible to conclude that the Turin shroud dates from the Middle Ages. What do you think, folks? As usual, let us know. A 3-year-old boy claims he knows who killed him in a past life. The young boy's story is one of the most fascinating accounts of reincarnation to have risen in recent years. A resident of the Golden Heights region between Israel and Syria, the boy was born into a culture that accepts reincarnation as unquestionable fact. Yet despite the controversial nature of his claims, it becomes difficult to simply dismiss his story as a mere fabrication. According to the testimony of Dr. Eli Lash, who witnessed the events as they unfolded, the 3-year-old was born with a red birthmark on his head, a sign that some believe to be associated with the way in which a person has died in their past life. As he grew up, the boy seemed to recall details of his previous existence, including the village that he used to live in and the fact that he believed he had been killed by a blow to the head with an axe. He was later taken to the village he specified, where he started to recall even more information, including his own name and even the name of the person who he said had killed him. He was taken to see the alleged killer face to face, but while the man seemed uneasy, he would not admit to any crimes. Perhaps the most remarkable part of this tale, however, was when the boy was taken to a spot at which he believed his past life self had been buried. Beneath the soil was found a skeleton with a head injury that exactly matched his birthmark. When confronted with this evidence, his alleged killer immediately turned himself in. Welcome back, my little lovelies. I hope you all found those 4 videos interesting. As usual, let us know your thoughts. Keep them nice and clean, keep everything tickety-boo. Now, look at this, it looks like we've got through this video with no crashing or banging. A miracle. Right, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. Oh, before I go, I'd like to say welcome to all the new subscribers. Thanks for joining us. Hold on tight, it's going to be a bumpy ride. No, seriously, thank you for joining us. Right, that's all from me for this episode of Weird World. Until next time, my little lovelies. Ta-ta! Ta-ta, my little lovelies. Ta-ta!